Hey everybody, just wanted to update on my British regular infantry that I'm doing for Muskets and Tomahawks. So this is just another work in progress. I think that in general things have been slow going with doing these, and part of it is I elected to use my airbrush to work up from black primer through red and doing a bit of shading and things, and in doing that process my airbrush needed a thorough cleaning, and so and I cleaned my airbrush quite a bit, but I did a restoration on it, and so I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with it, but you can buy like Airbrush Restorer where you just sort of dunk your airbrush in it and it'll sort of remove all the dried paint on the inside, and it's really amazing as to how much even when I regularly clean after every use just by spraying through airbrush cleaner and stuff, and even with a toothpick and stuff, like doing that, there's a fair bit of cleaning or stuff that comes out of it when you do a thorough restoration on it, and so that took some time, and just in general I've been working a lot on things, and so this is sort of where I'm at, and I'll just sort of zoom in close here. I'm not thoroughly disappointed at all as to how the red came out. I can show you up close to give you an impression of I guess what I meant by the shading is that underneath you can see that it's definitely darker than above there, and so there's a little bit of a shading effect. I actually ended up using a bit of orange in my last go around with the airbrush, and so I think it came out pretty good in that it still looks red, but it just lightened up some of the red that I used. I experimented a bit when doing these. I used some different reds that I had just to see how it would end up coming out, and I'm pretty good with this one. I'm going to do some washes on this, and then I'll be doing some highlighting, and it'll brighten up a bit further after I even pick out some raised surfaces and just do some highlighting as well. One of the things that was kind of funny is just from a perception perspective, there's so much detailing on the British regular uniforms, or maybe even just many of these colonial uniforms in general. Like when you look at it, like besides the fact that they have the white leggings, when you look at the trim on the hat and then all the detailing, it almost looks like a completely different army when you just look at it right now. Like they don't even look like British regulars to me, even though they have red on their uniforms because of the solid black hat and just the lack of detailing in white. Right now, there's just a long way to go. I have a lot of work still to do on these guys before I get them to even look like they're close. So that's kind of where I'm at. While I'm on the subject, one of Justin Borges, who has a channel as well, who I do follow his channel. He often comments on mine. Had a request. Justin, you mentioned the flags. I sent you a response on Google Plus, and I didn't hear from you, so I just wanted to make sure what you wanted to do. This is the only one that comes with this. I'm planning on only using this, unless, of course, because this is the first time I'm doing a flag, I actually end up ruining it, and I'm not hopeful that that's not going to happen. But basically this one and this one will be available. On the other side there are more, but they happen to be, so this one actually will have this one on this side. So like if I was to just I would likely just send you the sheet, and so you could just cut out whichever one you want, but this one would be gone because it's on the other side of this one, and then there would be this one left. And so if you want those when I'm done, just send me a PM with your address, and I'll just send it in the post to you, like in a letter, if you want that, because I know you said that it didn't come with yours, or you didn't get yours with it. It's a little misleading, but they show 2 here. You don't get 2. Like this is just double-sided on one, at least the way I got it. So besides that, I do have I'm just going to push these back a little bit while I talk here. I do have some more to update on Musket and Tomahawks. Like I said, you do need to have 2 buildings generally for Musket and Tomahawks, and at the very beginning of this project, and now I'm actually towards the end because this is my last unit, the very beginning I did a cabin. Like, that was my first project. I was basically talking about the game, and I did a cabin. Well, I need to do one more structure, and I kind of talked to folks about, like, what do you guys think I should do? And I had a lot of good suggestions, like a church, and I think somebody maybe said a barn, I'm not sure. But I kind of got set on a really specific project in my mind that I wanted to do. And I wanted to do, like, a trader outpost that is not only like a store, but also has a separate room that has lodgings in it. And so it's just sort of like one of those outposts where somebody lives there, like in a room in it, but then also the front is a store. And I thought that might be really cool, like just to have, because this is frontier and people needed to resupply, and there needed to be places that you could go to at certain points. So I thought that would be really neat, like out in the frontier, some sort of trader outpost. Now, one thing some of you may remember that I had a little video once where I said something like, you know, is this wargaming or doll housing? And I was talking about how when I was looking into buildings, just how crazy you could go with the furniture, and it just, at a certain point, I kind of asked myself, what am I really doing here? Like, am I going to spend like a million years building a house and trying to get everything accurate, you know, to the point where it's like a dollhouse? Well, it was just sort of a funny aside at the time, but in all honesty, I've kind of done that a little bit in the sense that because I want to do the trader outpost, I could theoretically really just make everything myself, like just really basic, and it really wouldn't be that hard to do. But the one centerpiece in a trading store or shop that I really felt would be nice to have, and perhaps something that really looked good, would be like a desk. And so I ended up actually getting this from my local miniature store. Actually has some foreground in stock, which is kind of a nice thing. Like, we don't have a lot, but it has some foreground, and it just so happened they had chairs and beds and things like that. But I saw this desk, and I believe this is probably for their Western game or Western line that they have. But I actually thought it would just be perfect, you know, just to be in this sort of trading outpost as just sort of a desk. And I'm thinking the building is going to be different than the one that I did before, but I'm going to bring the one that I did before out for comparison. I'm just going to pull back a little bit here, my tripod. So I'm thinking that the roof on the next one is not going to be a peak like this one, which was just this here. This is just like your standard peak, right? Pretty easy. I'm thinking, just to make it different, I'm actually going to have it more lower and sloped, so kind of like perhaps kind of coming up like this and then sloped this way, just to make it look different. I think the dimensions are going to be relatively similar on this floor. I may make it narrower and just a little bit longer, because the idea is I'm going to have two compartments to this building. Like, one would be a room, you know, essentially sleeping quarters. And that's why I was thinking if it was narrower and a little longer, I could have a room that would be kind of like this, rather than just like that. And then the other would be this sort of entrance somewhere here, and a storefront. Now, I'm going to actually raise my tripod because this is difficult where I have it here to show you. So I actually think this desk fits pretty good in here. Like, I actually think, even if I had it go there, like some sort of compartment there, having a desk where I could have potentially benches with some like snowshoes or something, or sacks and stuff, and just some merchandise there. And then I have, it's funny because one of my civilians really fits the part that I'd gotten. He's like basically this guy. He's like holding a broom. I think the scale's pretty good with the desk for the most part. I mean, it's a large, it would be like a large store desk, right? And so, counter. I'm calling it a desk. It's actually a counter. But I think that works pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'll probably do a little bit of stuff, decorative stuff on this next one, more so than this one, just to make it look like a store. essentially like a trading outpost is what it's supposed to look like. But yeah, this piece is pretty cool. It just took me like no time at all to make. It was really easy, really quick. So typical foreground stuff. It's really good for the most part. So all right, so that's sort of my update. I'm hoping to today get some more work on these regulars done, and I'm likely gonna hit the yellows first before I do the whites, and then we'll go from there. And so hopefully I'll have these guys done fairly soon, so I can and start working in the cabin, so I can get all this done and actually get the local game going that all of this was for. So okay, I hope you guys are doing well and had a good week, and have a good weekend. Take care.